Hi class, so I wanted to just record a brief summary of what we covered in today's class. It's Saturday, September 24th, about 7 p.m. This is for those of us that were in class, but also those of us who missed class so that you can sort of fill yourself in on what you missed. So the first thing that we did in class is we went through the difference between argument and claims. Specifically, we defined what an argument is. An argument is a debatable position that an article takes, and it's also something that an entire article is trying to prove, right? So argument, we use the analogy of an argument is the mom and dad, the claims are the children, right? So the argument is what the whole article is trying to prove, and the claims are these debatable reasons that support the argument. So if Bittman is arguing that junk food should be taxed in his article, a claim he makes to support this argument is that junk food is the leading cause of obesity. So you'll see both are debatable, but one is working in the service of another. It's also important to identify the difference between claims and arguments because when you're being asked to respond to a prompt in the ALST, they often ask you to identify the claims and the argument. So it's important you know the difference. The other thing is what happens is when you identify the claim, you're able to identify what logos is being used in support of individual claims. And so if you want more information on this, you can look at our PowerPoint presentation from today's class that's not in this PowerPoint that you're in right now. However, you can easily just go to that PowerPoint and you'll find more information. We talked about, we have this chart that I created in which you can see how you could respond to the first prompt, the evaluating the argument and who makes a more compelling argument. It has arrows. One says argument, and then there's a smaller one that says claims. And then underneath claims, I have different types of logos, and then the kinds of questions you can ask each type of logos so that you not only are identifying the claim, but you know what you are supposed to say about the logos that is being used. We joked in class about how a lot of us, for this prompt, we knew the argument, we knew the logos, we knew the claims, but we didn't know what to say after we, talked about the statistic. Like, Bittman supports his claim that junk food causes obesity by using statistic, right? But what about that statistic makes it so much more compelling than Thomas? So there are a few questions that I put in that diagram that might help you answer that question, okay? And then the next thing that we talked about was the third prompt. So the third prompt specifically we noted three different things about the third prompt, and we skipped the second prompt because that's something we're going to talk about next class. So the third prompt is different because it is asking you to directly answer a question. It's 400 to 600 words. And then the final thing that's different about the third prompt is it's asking you to refute a counterclaim. Now, there are different ways in which you can refute a counterclaim. And remember, claim is the debatable reason used to support your argument. Counterclaim would then be a debatable reason to not support your argument. So what you have to do is you have to bring that counterclaim in only to refute it, to knock it down. And so one thing that you can do that Lina Bell noted, is you can poke holes in the credibility of the person saying the counterclaim or in the research that backs up the counterclaim. But another thing you can do is see if there are any logical fallacies presented in the counterclaim. Logical fallacies are flaws in reason, flaws in logos. So if you see that a counterclaim is defending itself using logos that is flawed, you absolutely can mention that, and that is a great way to refute a counterclaim. We went over specific logical fallacies, and I think Lindsay asked, can we just directly say this is a logical fallacy of red herring, this is a logical fallacy of straw man? And I said, absolutely you can, just make sure you explain how it is a logical fallacy, red herring, equivocation, etc., etc. So very briefly, logical fallacies, again, flaw in logos, flaw in reason. Begging the question is the kind of fallacy in which the claim is being supported by repeating the claim over again. So Jesse is smart because Jesse is smart. Jesse is smart because Jesse is intelligent, right? It's the same exact claim, and that's a logical fallacy because you haven't actually proven the claim. You've just repeated it. Equivocation is when you misunderstand a key definition of a word. And so the example we used here was with Dr. Carson. A lot of you noted that he misdefined or misunderstood the definition of jihad. And so that's his logical fallacy, right? In order to support his argument that Syrians should not be allowed into the United States, he makes a claim that Syrians all are extremist Muslims, or something along those lines. And so in order to support that claim, he uses the idea of jihad. The problem is he defines jihad in an incorrect way. That's not the real definition. And so it becomes equivocation, and that becomes a logical fallacy. Then we have post hoc, and that is when you try to make correlation or closeness of events into causation, meaning I drank a Red Bull right now, and I just passed an exam. So the reason why I passed the exam is because I drank the Red Bull. One thing does not necessarily mean it caused the other just because you did it around the same time period. And the example that we had was about immigration and crime, right? Immigrants, there's an increase in the amount of immigrants that are in the United States. There's been an increase in crime. Immigrants therefore cause crime. That's a logical fallacy. One does not necessarily mean that it caused the other. Then we had straw man, and that is when you misrepresent an argument in order to defend yourself against that argument. However, that argument has nothing to do with the conversation. And so the example we had was with Hillary Clinton and Trump. If Hillary Clinton says that America is built on the hard work of immigrants, right? And that is why we should have many immigrants given legal status. That's her argument. And Trump comes back and says Hillary Clinton is wrong because Hillary Clinton loves terrorism, right? Or Hillary Clinton is wrong because she wants your kids to be victims of crime. He's using straw man. He's misrepresenting Clinton's argument in order to defend himself against something that's easier, right? It's easier to defend yourself against an argument that is clearly wrong, right? To say that, someone loves terrorism, of course you can argue yourself and win against that. But that's not actually what she's arguing. And then red herring, I forget this is in reverse. Red herring is a distraction. So that is when you are supporting a claim, you're supporting a claim using something that is completely unrelated, right? And again, we went back to Trump and Clinton on this. And if you want more examples of any of these, you can go to the PowerPoint from today's class. Okay, the other thing that I didn't mention to all of you is Monday the debates start, right? So in class we watched a YouTube video of Jon Stewart debating with Bill O'Reilly. And we pointed out when Bill O'Reilly used logical fallacies and the claims Jon Stewart was making, et cetera, et cetera. We didn't get to have a full-fledged conversation, but it really was interesting to see how bright everyone's eyes got because they were able to understand argument, claim, and logical fallacy. So I was thinking that we should really watch the debates on Monday and see if we could see arguments and claims and logical fallacies in that. Just a suggestion. You don't have to do it, but I will. So if you'd like to join me, absolutely, let's watch the debates and we can talk about it maybe on Saturday. Maybe not so much during class, but before or after. All right. And then finally, and this is really important for all of us, for homework, I asked that you revise the Bittman versus Thomas response if you did it. And I also asked if you didn't do it, because last week I did make it seem like it was optional, that you go ahead and you try to respond to this prompt, because it's a really important prompt for me to see if you're understanding the lessons that we're going over in class. So the Bittman article was distributed in class. If you don't have access to it, for whatever reason, just Google Bittman, subsidize it, tax it. It's a New York Times op-ed piece. And Thomas was given as a link. If you don't have that link, it should be in your Google Docs, because for those of you who didn't do the assignment, I provided that link for you. But just Google, I think it's US News, Google Thomas junk food tax won't work. And the first thing that comes up is the article. So you were asked to evaluate these two arguments and answer the question of who provides a more compelling argument. So go ahead and do that. And then the homework from today, we looked at a question. Should New York City citizens vote yes on a junk food tax? And I asked that you respond to that prompt using Bittman, Thomas, and a chart that is on the PowerPoint from today's class. In addition, because I want to make sure we're all on the same page, and I try my best to be as organized as possible because I don't like when people feel lost, I've put the chart and the prompt in our class notebook under today's date, so you can find it over there. I've also adjusted our syllabus because we are not doing the things that I had planned for us to do, which is fine. We're doing more, I think, more interesting work. So hopefully that will also help. I know Pam was talking about getting confused because she was following the syllabus, and the syllabus is not what we're doing in class. So you'll see that I've kind of taken some stuff out so that there's no more confusion. If you have any questions, please, please, please email me. If you need to talk through your ideas about writing, please make an appointment with Michelle. I know last week Michelle said she didn't really have as many students that she met with, so if you didn't get to meet with her last week, maybe you want to meet with her this week. Whatever the case is, please know that I'm here to support you, as is Michelle, and I will see you on Saturday. All right?